Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Reginald the Vampire. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, Reginald is on his apology tour. He happened to come back. I'm curious how long Reginald actually was gone. To the point even Claire was wondering if he was dead, even asking Sarah. Jeez, I was blanking on Sarah's name for a second there. If she actually missed it, and she was like, right, there's people who are kind of like, right, his son, but it's like, yeah, that sun doesn't like, she was basically making a metaphor about how like, yeah, they don't kind of shine for you because like the luster and the shine that Reginald had is kind of like dimmed in her eyes. And Claire's just like, yeah, I miss him too. Because like Claire was like, yeah, I haven't heard from you. I thought you were dead. So, but he shows up and yeah, Claire was mad at him, but she was like, yeah, when you were gone, I thought you were dead. So she's glad to see that he's alive. And obviously things between him and, Sarah aren't better. She fired him. The fact is her hair was a little dyed. I guess it's just like, right, after a breakup, you just want to like, after a heartbreak, not just breakup. It was like a big heartbreak that she just said, you know what, I probably needed to make some changes. So, and we find out, obviously, they've been a little understaffed. They've been trying to interview people. Todd's been a mess, but we find out Todd's actually alive. It's like, wait, what? They're like, yeah, the way everyone's believing it is that Todd tried to kill himself. It's like, jeez. And now he's also talking about Reginald being a vampire. He's like, right, he ended up going to like a psych facility because of it, but he's like, yeah, I want to try and keep my reputation intact. So he told medical professionals, but he didn't tell anyone in his personal life like Ashley or Sarah about that. And so he's like, oh, you must be here to, finish the job. He's like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm sorry for what I did. He's like, cause yes, he kind of glamored Todd to do it, but Todd was kind of the closest thing he had to a friend. It's like he had kind of turned his bully into an ally. And it's like, yeah, like, because I was so frustrated, I kind of took everything out on you and I almost killed you. Luckily I didn't. Now it's like, yeah, I'm still a sucky person. I'm still an asshole, but at least I'm not a murderous asshole. And it's like, right, Maurice is actually the one. Wait, Maurice is a vampire? Oh, that makes so much sense. So it's like, okay. And so Reggie's like, all right, here, have my blood. It'll heal you. And he thought it was going to be a trick. But it's like, all right, fine. Because he's like, if I wanted to kill you, if I wanted to rip out your throat, could have done it by now. All right. And he drank Reginald's blood. He's like, woo! And just start hitting him push up. And he feels like, oh, I'm great. He's back to kind of being Todd. But I do think the whole thing, it's like, because Reginald's like, yeah, I'm done glamoring people. I'm not about to do that anymore. So, because it's like, right, he doesn't want to live a lie and deception. And so he's busy trying to get ready for the assessment. But the problem is, it's like, yeah, but the one person you haven't really made up with is Sarah. So it's like, and he's still reluctant to, because I think for him, it's like, this is the one where it's like, if he messes this up, he's worried, like, yeah, because he's scared to confront, like, hey, what if Sarah never wants to have anything to do with me? I'd rather stay in this purgatory I am right now, where it's like, we haven't really said anything, because I think he's scared of what she might say. Especially if he tells her the truth about him being a vampire, like, what if she doesn't like me anymore? Like, I'd rather be in this purgatory because it's scarier. And, and the whole last episode was about, like, right, especially his conversation with her. All he had to do was be brave, and he couldn't be. And he's still kind of being a little not brave right now. So he does tell her the truth, but she doesn't believe him, obviously. And at any point in time, Reginald could have showed her his fangs, because there's still that reservation of, like, I'm scared, like, if I tell her the truth and do show her the truth, what if she doesn't, like me anymore? Like, what if that changes everything between us? And so Sarah was just like, right, yes, things would have been a mess, but at least I was hoping, because you being back is confusing to me, because I was so upset with you because you lied to me and you hurt me. But then at the same time, I kind of want you to come back. It's all I ever wanted is, you to come back. And yes, things would be messy, but at least you would be honest and you would tell me the truth and we'd find a way forward in some shape or form. But now you're here, not only, but you ran away. So not only are you you're not only a liar, you're also a coward, and you're continuing to be a liar. So she's like, I'm done, and walks away. He could have showed her his fangs, but he didn't, because I think there's still that turmoil of like, yeah, like, I think he also didn't want to make it easy on himself because he's like, right, Sarah had every right to say what she said because regardless of my vampirism or anything, as he confronted himself last episode, it's like, no, you did all those things. Like, yes, vampirism didn't make you an asshole. That was you doing asshole things as a vampire. You know, that's a very important distinction. So now it is a situation of Sarah actually starts thinking about everything, and she's like, right, him talking about glamoring and everything, and she's like, right, it's kind of making a lot of sense. So she actually confronts him. It's like, show me your fangs. And he does. And she's like, oh my God, like, you're a vampire. Wait, this is crazy. I have so many questions. Now it's making a lot more sense. But now it's like, you know, she's trying to wrap her head around that. But Reginald pushes her away because it's like, right, I'm a vampire. You're a human. Obviously, this is all he's ever wanted, was to like be with Sarah, obviously before becoming a vampire, but even being a vampire, believing like, no, we'll make it work. But he's pushing her away because like, yeah, the assessment's coming up and I'm going to be dead soon. You know, he's still not sure how that's all going to play out. So he wanted to keep her at a distance because I think, you know, it's like, hey, I've hurt you enough. I don't want to cause any more pain in your life. So I'm going to leave you alone. So there's that. Todd ended up being a surprise this episode in so many different ways. For one, well, he's less of an asshole, but also the fact is when he confronts Maurice and be like, hey, I need you to make me a vampire. He's like, look at me, takes off his shirt. Like, I'm in the best shape of my life. And it is a little narcissistic because I think for Todd, for him, his good looks is kind of all he has. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to, like, eventually I'll lose this. I'll get older. Eventually I'll look in the mirror. I'll see a stranger. Because it seems like it's kind of a byproduct of his dad's situation. Because he's like, yeah, my dad was so strong. My dad was like a bull without the steroids. But he was like, yeah, my dad bench 450 like it was nothing. And he confronted a bear and punched it in the face. And then he saw his dad get ripped apart by a bear. And he was like, it's the most awful thing. And I think it's why Todd probably feels the need to, I want to be strong. Maybe he felt like, maybe that was a point in time when his dad was older and kind of lost his edge, but it's like, no, my dad died. And, you know, I guess it's like, right, that is still something in you when you see like this, probably in his eyes is like, yeah, this yoked, strong, godlike figure. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything because time will take everything away from you in some shape or form. And I think maybe that's where, you know, considering something traumatic like, oh, you're seeing your parent get mauled in front of you by a bear, it's like, of course that's going to do something to you psychologically. So I guess like that's kind of at the forefront of like, right, why Todd is kind of a bully, why he's kind of an asshole, why he's kind of like the stuck-up narcissistic douchebag that he is, because I think for him it's like, because he saw the image of like, yeah, my dad was this amazing, he was so strong and like that youthfulness and power, he doesn't want to lose that because I guess on some level he associates if he loses that, if he doesn't stay that way forever by becoming a vampire, then eventually it's like, yeah, like death is going to catch up to me, or you know, this is me at my perfection. But Maurice is like, I'm not going to do that, which I guess it makes sense. It's like, this is literally the worst time. If he sired Maurice right now, I mean, if Maurice sired him, if Maurice sired him right now, wouldn't that make it so that, well, because Reginald's death would also be that was my thing. I was like, well, I think the people around him are no longer on the chopping block anymore. I think they were probably able to arrange for that. I think that was mainly because they were like, Reginald missing his appointment. Everyone else close to him was supposed to die, but Maurice was able to smooth that over Angela, who kind of put in the work to kind of make that happen. We'll get to that in a second, but I guess that's not, because that was kind of my understanding, like, if Reginald failed the assessment, everyone dies, but doesn't seem like that's on the board anymore because he doesn't really bring it up to everyone. It's more so about his and Maurice's death. So I guess that's the main thing. If he bailed on the assessment and just straight up missed it, then everyone else suffers some ramifications, I guess. It's maybe they shifted it up, or at least maybe it was changed to that. Like, right, his friends will be spared. Give him another chance. His friends will be permanently spared, not just for him missing the assessment this time. Even if him failing the assessment will only end with him and Reginald and Maurice dying. So maybe that's kind of the thing there. Either way, speaking of Angela, she's getting relocated to the Yukon. Eve, who we met once a few episodes back, is like, yeah, I'm kind of taking over your position. You doing what you did, showing mercy. It seemed weak. Also, one of her subordinates, not Penelope, it's the other dude, because even Penelope kind of looked a little shocked, but it's like, well, Angela hasn't treated either one of them the best. It's always been like, oh, you're subservient to me, so I don't think Penelope has too much, but she was kind of like, oh, I'm blindsided by it. And so, like, because Home Dude's, the other dude is the one who ended up ratting her out, because I guess like it puts him in favor with Eve and stuff like that. Or maybe he just thinks Angela looked weak in that regard. It's like, well, I guess because she showed such a strong hand in the first episode after the whole Reginald thing, that I guess it's like, oh, now you seem weak. And so either way, she's getting relocated, and her and Maurice had to like talk heart to heart, because it's like, right, Reginald wants access to all the previous assessment stuff, because if he can learn what to kind of expect, he can kind of prep a little bit better. But Angela was like, right, fine, you can have the, like, you know, the previous assessments and stuff like that, or the records or access to the books and stuff, because there was only like there was a limit to like what they could show him archive wise. It was kind of illegal apparently to see everything. But for Angela, she kind of talked about the fact is, like, I think for such a long time, she felt like it was kind of her against the world. You know, for her, it's like, there were no friends around. There were just enemies, you know, people who wanted me dead. And she was like, regardless of it all, Maurice was different, you know? And now it's a situation, because the reason why Maurice is going as above and beyond for Reginald as he can, because it's like, right, he's like, you're the one that taught me that, Angela. And I think in his mind, it's like, you lost that somewhere along the way. More so like his anger kind of pushed her away, because it's like, she, in her own way, doing what she did out of love, but it still wasn't cool, because she didn't talk to him about it. She kind of did it behind Maurice's back, and then his mom killed herself, you know, because she couldn't live with what she had become, and she didn't want to live like that. And so, yeah, like for the next few decades, he was going to spend wanting her dead. And for her, that cut the deepest. It's like, right, you were the one person who didn't want me dead, and then you wanted me dead. You've attempted to make me dead. So, Maurice, I doubt anyone else does know either about her girlfriend, which I thought was kind of interesting. Obviously, we learned about her a couple of episodes ago, but she constantly glamours her to kind of forget. It seems specifically some of their conversations, because Angela kind of vents to her about everything going on in the vampire world and makes her forget. And Angela's like, right, considering everything that I'm about to, like, what's about to happen, you deserve to have all your memories back. Like, no more glamoring your memories away, because I want you to kind of remember everything we talked about, because that way we're fully open about everything. So you understand why I'm going, you know, understand. It's like, right. And she's going to go down swinging, but her girlfriend, they probably said her name, but I don't remember. It's like, hey, the Angela I know wouldn't try and, like, you know, burn the place down while she's gone. She'd make her enemies burn it down for her. So that motivation made her go like, you know what, I'm gonna help Reginald, because I guess because this is no longer her issue, this is Eve's. And even Maurice and Reginald later are like, right, she's got to have some angle to it. My thought is Angela wants Reginald to actually pass the assessment now. Before, it's like, yeah, he had zero chance. I want him to have a better shot now, because if he passes the assessment, it's no longer under me. This is under Eve. And if the fat vampire passes, it's going to make her and everyone else look stupid, and it's going to make her look better in comparison. It's going to be a failure on Eve's part that the fat vampire passed the assessment under her watch. It's kind of, you know, so that I think that's kind of where she's coming at this from. Or maybe it is a situation she is hoping that she might be hoping for some other angle to it, because Reginald passing the assessment isn't a guarantee, but she's willing to take a shot. But there might be, like I said, there might be some other angle to this they haven't realized or thought of yet. I also do love that we saw a picture, or obviously we see him later on at the end of the episode, but we meet Logan, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect that actor to be playing Logan. I've seen him in a few things, but obviously the thing I associate that actor with is the show Supernatural, where he played Death for quite a bit of the show. He popped in, obviously his character popped in every once in a while, but you know, if you've seen Supernatural, he's OG Death, you know? So, I swear there was something more recently I saw him in that I just can't place my finger on. Yeah, either way, intentions and all that aside, speaking of Logan, Angela is going to be there at the assessment, but she's going to be there as like a lowly page. She's not going to be there as like her powerful position, because it's like, and once again, you had Penelope being like, yeah, this is what's going down. And she was kind of smug about it. I was like, oh, I thought Homedew was the only one. But I guess, like I said, I think Penelope and that other person are tired of like the way Angela treated them. So it's like, yeah, you're kind of even in a lower position to us. Like we're the ones that kind of had to listen to your orders. But it's like, yeah, eventually, hopefully, yeah, the problem is Penelope's going to get on her bad side, and when the time comes, Angela's going to kill both of them. Like if things kind of go the way Angela wants them to, she's probably going to end up killing both of them, which sucks because it seems like Penelope and Mike have gotten closer to the point she actually talked to Maurice to try and get Maurice to stop Mike before he got killed. I'm like, oh, because you really care for him now. Because for him, he's just trying to pick up where Maurice left off. But it's like, yeah, you going after Angela isn't going to stop the assessment at this point in time because it's even beyond her control now. But Mike is like, yeah, I just want to, for him, it's like trying to make up for a lot. He's like, right, a lot of stuff that Angela did a lot of bad stuff, and he was complicit in a lot of that bad stuff. And for him, this is an opportunity to make amends, even if he kind of meets his maker at the end of it. But it's like, right, Maurice needs Angela alive, so she's more useful to him alive than dead right now. So for him, he's putting his revenge plot on hold, especially because it's like, right, she did do something. She did hold off the assessment for Reginald, spared all the people he cares about. So it's like, right, and she's helped us out now. Once again, she has her ulterior motives. She's got her angle because, of course, it's Angela. But, for now, I got to put my revenge aside because Reginald surviving is all because he obviously they're running through everything and obviously the odds don't look good. But for Reginald, he has a big piece of the puzzle. He's just missing the final piece on how to work this plan out. So either way, he wanted to put together a plan, a party where everyone would come together. It's like the people around him that he cares about because, hey, I need to do this because this might be my life. Maurice told him, it's like, if this is your last night on Earth, you might as well make the most of it. So everyone in his life is gathered. Claire, obviously Ashley and Sarah. I love this. Also, right, because Ashley kind of interpret this as this has got to be like Reginald's coming out party as a vampire because Sarah ended up telling her about everything. I thought Ashley was going to go full vampire hunter, which she kind of was before, but I think it's just everything she did was for the purposes of, I know Reginald's a vampire. I figured he had to be, but I just wasn't sure. But now I am sure, and it's like, oh, turns out it was right the entire time. I don't think it was like I'm hunting down vampire. I think it's just I wanted to do what I needed to do to prove I was right type of thing. I don't know. Maybe it's also because, Reginald hasn't done anything to me, so cool. I don't have any memory gaps, so I know he hasn't glamored me. So I guess for her, it's like, yeah, I guess Reginald's cool enough that it's like, wow. I mean, as long as I'm right in the end, that's all, I guess in her mind, that's all that matters. But yeah, everyone shows up, including Mike. Obviously, Maurice is going to be there. And obviously, Sarah's like, I know something else is going on. What's this party about? She brought a little disco ball and everything. And that was that line from Reginald. That comment was very heartbreaking when he was just like, I'm gonna miss this. I was like, geez. And because for him, it's like, yeah, he does believe a pending death is coming. And when Sarah's like, hey, tell me the truth, he's like, well, I don't want to lie to you. So he just turns around and walks away. But yeah, he talks in front of everyone. He's like, yes, I haven't always been a good friend or boyfriend, but when it's all said and done, he's like, I am grateful. Like, you guys didn't have to take me back, but I'm grateful to have all of you here. And I was like, that's one of those speeches where it just kind of breaks my heart. I was like, oh, it's actually kind of tearing up myself. If you play 15, it's like a Noctis. It's not the same, but it's like a Noctis speech. It's like that line, you guys are the best, still gets me choked up because I was watching someone recently, play through 15 because I'm one of those weirdos that's like, when I like a video game, I'm like, oh, I want to watch someone play it for the first time and get to experience everything. And it's like, yeah, I've even played 15, how that ending plays out. And it's like, it's a gut punch. It's beautiful and sad and everything, but regardless, tangents and all that aside, it's just one of those moments I thought was beautiful that, hey, he is surrounded by the people he cares about who care about him, that he, it's like, right, I didn't expect things to play out like this. Nikki even got invited, which I'm like, okay, cool. So him and Nikki kind of made amends. But she was off kind of, she's like, yeah, I had to crush some skulls to kind of ease herself. But Reginald called her in because he's like, right, in case I can't be here to help Claire, which he was like kind of pseudo big brother as he kind of he said like, yeah, not the best pseudo big brother or friend to other people. I loved. I thought that was sweet. But because once again, we still have not dived into what Claire's situation is. I'm like, once again, she brought it up. It was super ominous. Nikki knows what the ins and outs of that are because she saw whatever the hell that was. But I'm like, that's just going to be a massive secret. That's so interesting. What that is, what Claire's mom's circumstances are. Either way, when it's all said and done, he asked Nikki to come back to look after. It's like, oh yeah, ominous is kind of, you would think that's kind of a middle name, but she's like, no, it's Cynthia, which once again I find funny because it's like, yeah, that's my mom's first name. It's a common enough name. I mean, obviously, like, other than my mom, like, when I think Cynthia, I think of Angelica's doll from Rugrats as well. Like, that's my other association with the name, just kind of, which is, yes, I know it's weird that I associate that with that name, like, you know, obviously my mom comes first, but then that's also my other association. And because I think it also plays into the whole, like, oh, Nikki Cynthia. It's like, right, her being like this 300-year-old badass, or at least she's been doing the whole killing thing for like 300 years. I think she's like 300 years. But it's like, yeah, 300 years old. But it's like, yeah, like having a name like Cynthia just seems so like, oh, really? That's your middle name? It's like, yeah, you probably wouldn't say that to her face because she could like snap your neck like a twig, but still. Or just give you the most, you know, painful death, because it seems like that's also kind of Logan's thing too, because apparently like his thing is about torturing you, not even just putting you in the sun room to burn. Kind of like torture is kind of like his little extra thing, kind of sticking a knife in and digging it deep before you die and stuff like that. So there's that Reginald has to look forward to. But it wasn't for Reginald, it was more so for Claire, but even then it was more so for Ashley. Is the reason why Nikki came back, and it's like, A negative, my favorite. It's like, wait, did you just smell like blood type? You're a vampire. It's like, does that scare you? She's like, oh yeah, I'm scared a lot by you. But it's like, oh, like, you know, but Ashley's really intrigued because she was talking like she had other plans earlier in the episode. I was like, oh, have you and Nikki been doing anything? But it's like, oh no, Nikki's been away the entire time, ever since everything went down between her and Reginald and the Sarah thing at the end of episode 7. That was like the last time she was in town, so she immediately left. She had no reason to stick around. But yeah, Logan shows up and he's making a whole point of like, oh, Reginald, show me what you can do. And the moment he's like, oh, as you command, I was like, oh, it's not working on him. So, but it might be a thing of Reginald could do it. It seems like it is that thing of like, right, as an older vampire, it's less effective on him than it. I'm curious, would it work on Angela? Because I don't think we know specifically how old Angela is. So would it work on someone like Angela? But I'm wondering, is it just a confidence thing because Reginald's like worried and stressed, so it's not working on Logan, but maybe it could work on Logan. And obviously he doesn't know about, well, there is the whole and maybe this ends up being a part of his plan at the end of the day, but there is this situation of like, well, there is the whole Abraham. I was trying to remember a home dude's name. There's still the Abraham ace card, so I don't know. But it's like, yeah, home dude trying to lay low, especially because like other vampires, including Logan, want him dead. So I don't know if that's going to come into play or not. Because once again, he did learn some interesting stuff about vampirism's history and stuff like that last episode, especially from a not Seraphim, Nephilim, God, Abraham. So I'm wondering, is that going to come into play or something like that, like the final piece to the puzzle? But it's like, yeah. And then also Logan's like, hey, I thought you'd be fatter. And you see that look on Sarah's face. She's like, what the fuck you just say? Don't say that. Like, even she's like, that's a god awful thing to say. It's like, yeah, because it's like, oh, I thought you'd be fatter. It's like, and Reginald's like, thanks, I guess. It's like, yeah, that is a shitty thing to say. But yeah, he's like ready for the assessment. It's like, yeah, you're gonna die tomorrow. Now Sarah knows. It's like, right, this was kind of like supposed to be a living wake, but for him, it's like, I don't know what's next for me. You know, he's like, I'm scared. I'm worried that this isn't going to play out. But Todd comes over. Like, everyone's like discussing, like, man, what a dick. That guy was such an ass. I hope Reginald's okay. But then like Todd's like, hey, make me a vampire, Reginald, and don't say no. He's like, no. He's like, come on, look at me. I'd be perfect as a vampire. He's like, plus I could be your inside guy. I come show up as a janitor, and they're like, oh, look at Reginald. And then all of a sudden I pop out of nowhere. And yeah, they might jump on me and stuff like that. But he's like, yeah, I've got the broom and I'll make my makeshift steak. And he's like, yeah, Todd, the vampire. And I'm like, and he's doing all this karate chopping and like kicking. And you're just like, cool, Todd. It's like, I really like you now, Todd. You started off as a major douchebag, and you've warmed your way into our hearts, despite still being kind of a douche. But it's like, yeah, come on, Reginald, make me a vampire. He's like, you know what, Todd, I will. And Sarah's like, wait, you will? Him? Because even she's like, he's a tool, and you're going to make him a vampire? Really? And he's like, yes. And for whatever reason, it gave Reginald an answer, the final piece that he needs. What that means necessarily, I don't know. But, yeah. He's like, don't worry, I got this, Maurice, and I'm curious to see what that final piece to the puzzle is going to be. I do believe the next episode should be the season finale, so I'm very, very excited. Did you hear my voice kind of crack there? I kind of stretched my voice to do that, but it wasn't 100% on purpose, but I kind of cracked my voice there a little bit. Not really, but either way, I'm very excited to see how this wraps up and how this plays out. You know, I believe everything's going to work out, but the question is, how is Reginald going to pull this off? What it's going to look like? And even then, once again, Angela still got her angle to things. What that's going to look like, we'll ultimately have to wait and see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.